Hello everybody and welcome back to Necroxis Plays Dragon Age Origins. My name is Necroxis. Today is going to be a conversation day, and we're going to look at the various people in the camp that we have not spoken to yet, which includes Sandal, Bodan, this guy over here, Levi Dryden, Sten, and Leliana. So let's start out with this guy first. This is a DLC thing, I believe.
You're a hard woman to find. Where are my manners? The name is Levi Dryden. Did Duncan ever mention me? Levi of the coins? Levi the trader?
Nope, but he's dead. I'm Essie.
Really? He never told you of old Levi? We've known each other for years. But here I am carrying on while you have a blight to stop. Don't want to waste your time. But you see, Duncan promised that together we'd look into something important for the Wardens. And for me. But poor Duncan's... well, no more. A tragedy it is, at that. But I know he would want his work carried on. His pledge fulfilled.
What promised it? How did you know him?
It's a bit of a tale, that is. But I'm the one who brought the Grey Wardens back to Ferelden. Well, I was one of the ones. There were a lot of us. Maker's breath, I'm a bit nervous. Honoured to be here, really.
Go ahead and tell your tale.
After King Marek freed us from the Orlesians, the Grey Wardens begged the King's permission to come into Ferelden. Some sort of internal business. Me and a mess of other Warden sympathisers spoke on behalf of your order. Tan Loghain was very much against letting Orlesian Wardens in the
of course
kingdom.
he was.
But Marek, Andraste, bless him, was a fair-minded monarch and he let them in.
Go on.
So that's why I was there when the Wardens and their leader, Genevieve, presented herself to the King. The first Wardens in Ferelden in over a century. Proudest day of my life, that was. Duncan was a bit of a scamp back then. We were of an age and struck up a friendship. The King himself went with the Wardens on their mysterious business. When he returned, he rescinded King Ardlan's decree, and the Wardens came back to Ferelden for good.
Thank you for bringing them here.
Oh, his stomach's all aflutter. You're welcome.
What promise did he make to you?
As you know, my family's name is Mud around noble circles. My great-great-grandmother, Sophia Dryden, was the last Warden commander of Ferelden back when the Wardens were known as freeloaders. So King Arlan banished the Wardens, and he took House Dryden's land and titles.
Okay, what happened next?
Hard to say. After King Arlan died, there was a civil war, loads worse than this one. And our family was on the run, hunted by enemies, with nary a friend in the world. But Drydens are tough. We rebuilt, became merchants, and we never lost our pride.
Okay, I'm surprised you kept your name.
Our family's only crime was guarding the kingdom against the blight. We're not ashamed of that.
What favor did you ask of Duncan?
For the truth. My family reveres Sophia Dryden. We know she died at the old Grey Warden base, Soldier's Peak. We want evidence to clear her name. It won't restore our land or our titles, but it'll restore our honour.
Couldn't you go there by... I've never even heard of Soldier's Peak.
Well, no one's been to Soldier's Peak since Arlan's days. At least none that's come back. I spent years mapping the maze of tunnels to the peak, and I found the way a few years back. So I went to Duncan, I did, and I said that he could reclaim the old base and my family could have its honour.
And why didn't he?
Darkspawn surfaced in southern Ferelden, and Duncan got plenty busy recruiting new Wardens and meeting with good King Cailan. Duncan said he would help after the Battle of Ostagar. Said there might be useful things at the peak.
Of course he did.
But he never had the chance.
How will reclaiming the peak help the Wardens?
Soldier's Peak is strategic and symbolic importance. Duncan said that it would be worth it right there. He also hoped to recover lost Warden history and perhaps a few old relics. No one knows what's up there now.
Okay. What do you need from me?
I can pick my way through the tunnels at the base of Soldier's Peak, but the place, well, they say it's haunted.
Of course.
And it'll be dangerous for certain. Will you think on it at least?
Your family's faith will be rewarded. I will help
blessings upon you, Warden. I'll mark down the location on your map. When you arrive, we'll pick our way through the tunnels together.
Okie doke. So that's one of the DLCs, Warden's Keep. Let's talk to these two. Let's first talk with Sandal.
Enchantment?
Oh wait, no. I have to talk to Bodan.
If there's anything I can do for you, please, please tell me.
What's your story exactly?
I suppose since you told me about you being a Grey Warden, it's only fitting for me to be as open. I am originally from Orzammar, the famed dwarven city that lies beneath the stately Frostback Mountains. I was a merchant there, too. Merchant caste. These things are in the blood, you know. You can't just leave them behind. I ran a fairly successful business. Rare artifacts, you know. Old things, grand things. The nobles loved them. Reminded them of the lost glory days, I suppose.
Lost Glory?
Our kingdoms once spanned the length of Thados, from majestic Orzammar to Kal Sharok to glittering Darmalin far to the west. They say the gold and silver veins ran so thick through the stone of Darmalin that the entire city sparkled. The Darkspawn took it all, of course. One by one, the old Tigers fell, and then all that was left was Orzammar. But we were talking about how I ended up here, weren't we? One day, a noble woman came to my store. She looked around for a bit and then started shrieking in dismay. Apparently, she believed that a pair of braces I had for sale once belonged to her brother. He'd been lost in a cave-in, you see, while on an expedition to clear out the Darkspawn from one of the tunnels running close to the city. They were made specially for him. They're unique, she shrieked. He stole them from my poor brother's corpse. She had me arrested on the spot, of course. Nobles, they're touchy like that.
What a bitch. Well, did you steal them?
Well, I didn't steal them. You see, I'd been paying these castless thugs to venture out into the deep roads for me. The lost Tigers. They're full of things that people left behind. Sometimes you can find a treasure. Something worth a little gold.
I see.
The noblewoman, she wasn't too happy with the theft of her brother's braces. I don't know what they planned for me, and I didn't want to find out. Bribed the guard that was watching me and took off for the surface first opportunity I got. Never looked back.
Interesting. And now you are here.
Yes, here I am. Now, is there anything the boy or I can get you?
But where do these good come from? Not the deep roads.
Look, we don't rob people, all right? We don't take things from people that need them. The things in the Lost Tigers, what good did they do lying there? I brought them back to Orzammar, where people could look at them and remember. It's not all that different up here. There are places long abandoned by the humans everywhere. Even more now with the Darkspawn coming.
What do you mean?
People flee from the Blight with good reason, but they forget things. Things with value and meaning. They leave them behind because they're frightened and desperate. And sometimes, my boy and I, we find our way to these places before the Horde descends, and we save these things. I take them away so the Darkspawn don't get them. Is that so bad? They destroy everything they touch.
I mean, I don't really care. I suppose it's better than
That's
having
what
the
I tell
Darkspawn take it all.
myself too. Ah, these are dark times indeed. Dark times, my friend.
You didn't mention your son in your tale.
Ah, yes. I'm married to a fine woman back in Denerim, it's true. She'd give me a son if she could, but that's not likely to ever be. Sandal here, I found him in the deep roads years ago. Abandoned, I think, and he was never quite right in the head. I took him in, and I brought him with me when I came here to the surface. He may not be my blood, true, but I think of him as one.
We left Orzammar.
That's right, boy. Maybe one day we'll see it again.
Blood isn't all that important. Well, that was generous of you.
It's not as if I don't benefit, mind you. Turns out the boy's a natural working with enchantments. He might have even been lyrium-addled. I never thought of that before, to be honest. Happens sometimes. He can work an enchantment into just about anything, however, given some time. Could probably open his own shop, if he knew how.
Enchantment.
Well, he does seem to enjoy it, at least.
Oh, heard any rumors?
I hear news from Denerim that Tyrn Loghain has been declared the new regent. It makes sense, his daughter being the queen. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Take it for what it is.
Any more rumors?
Some folks aren't happy about Tyrn Loghain being named regent. There are rumors he had something to do with the king's death. Isn't that the most ridiculous thing you ever heard? The Darkspawn killed him, sure enough. If Tyrn Loghain couldn't save the king from that end, then nobody could.
Well,
That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Take it for what
I mean, it's not exactly what happened, but more rumors.
It's not just Darkspawn and the Horde, you know that? There are people with them. Folks who are sick with the blight, and their minds are all twisted and mad. I heard tell of a man meeting his own brother on the field, yet when he called out to him, his brother didn't even recognize him and just attacked. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow.
Okay, stop saying that,
Take
please.
it for what
I just want to hear more
I hear
rumors.
tell they held a funeral in Denerim for King Keelan. The Grand Cleric called for a full day of mourning, and there was a procession a mile long passing by the brazier. It's too bad they don't have a body to properly burn. What happened to him at the hands of those creatures, it's unthinkable. That's what I've heard on the road.
Shut up, please.
anyhow.
Oh my God, stop
Take
saying
it for
that.
what it is.
More rumors.
I heard from some travelers that something bad might have happened in Redcliffe, overrun by Darkspawn, maybe. There's no word from the village at all. A merchant friend of mine said he encountered someone fleeing the place and there was nothing waiting for him there but death. He wisely turned around and came right back. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Take it for what it is. There's knights from Redcliffe spread all over Ferelden on some kind of mission, but I hear that they're starting to become rare to find. Maybe they all went back to Redcliffe. More likely they got tired of searching for something that can't be found and abandoned their search. I wonder what Earl Eamon is going to do without any knights. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Take it. I hear the Dwarven King is passed on. Old as he was probably poisoned or assassinated. That's how the dwarves normally go out, isn't it? That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Take it for what it is.
More rumors.
Something's going on at the Major's Tower at Lake Callanhod. Nobody knows exactly what, though, and the Templars aren't saying. Exactly what we need, isn't it? Let's hope the Majors are just cooking up something to deal with the Darkspawn. Somebody should be, after all.
Right.
That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Take it for what
More
it is.
rumors.
Some hunters who range into the Brazilian forest say that a Dalish clan there has fallen to some kind of sickness. The blight, most likely, poor sods. That's what I've heard on the road,
Okay.
anyhow. Take it for what? Thank the Maker we didn't lose Tyrn Logain at Ostergar.
Oh yeah, thanks.
He pulled his troops out just in time, so it said. Without him, we'd be lost.
Right.
That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow.
More rumors.
I hear from folks traveling the East Roads that there's werewolves in the Brazilian forest. Actual werewolves. They haven't been around since the days of Dane and his ilk. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. I hear that Tyrn Logain, the regent, is calling for new levies of troops. He wants to rebuild the army we lost at Ostergar. Thing is, there's not a lot of spare men to be found. Out at Dragon's Peak, there's press gangs roaming around, grabbing any free man they can lay their hands on. That's what
Wow.
I've heard on the road, anyhow.
Forced
I heard a
conscription.
strange rumor the other day. King Kaelin was not really Merrick's son, you see. Merrick's real son is hidden in the bowels of Denerim's palace and has been since he was born. I suppose they feed him cakes all day to keep him content. Maybe he's simple. Or a mage. Merrick's real
mage.
son, a mage. Can you imagine? That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow.
I know that there is a limit to these.
There's talk that King Kaelin was cheating on the Queen and she found out about it. That's why Tyrn Logain abandoned Kaelin at Ostergar. That's what I've heard on the road.
Interestingly, that actually
Take
has
it
a
for
shred
what
of
it
truth
is.
to it, which we'll find out when we do the Return to Ostagar DLC.
The crafters of the Pearl Brothel are threatening to close their doors if they aren't finally recognized as a true guild. Ha! Can you imagine? As if the men were
Phone, please.
enough. That's what I've heard on the road.
Oh,
anyhow.
please stop saying that.
With King Kaelin dead, the throne falls to Queen Honora. She's made her father the regent, however, at least for now. I think Kaelin's father, old King Merrick, would have approved. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow.
Okay.
Take it for what it is.
More rumors.
I don't know what to tell you.
That's it. Ooh, we did them all. Okay. Let's go to Sten first. He's less interesting, in my
Why
opinion.
are we stopping?
I think we should talk for a moment.
There are darkspawn to be fought. Is this delay needful?
I just want to know if I can trust you at my back.
I am Kunari. I have given my word to aid you. We are not people of idle promises.
The Kunari actually usually have horns, and it's kind of special that Sten does not have horns. So, just a little FYI. I've never seen one before.
No.
Why not?
People are not simple. They cannot be summarized for easy reference in the manner of the elves are a lithe, pointy-eared people who excel at poverty.
That's a pretty good summary. Are you all right? You're in that cage for weeks.
You are concerned. No need. I am fit enough to fight.
You said you were in the army.
I am.
Have you ever fought in a war?
I have always fought in war, human.
Okay, what do you mean?
My people have been at war since the moment we set foot in the Northern Islands.
So the Kunari don't come from the islands.
We do now.
Where did you come from before?
Somewhere else.
Can you be more specific?
No. I was born in Seheron. Of the land we came from, I know nothing, not even its name. I do not see how this matters. Seheron and Parvolan are distant. Ferelden and the Darkspawn are immediate.
I just want to be friends. What's your hurry?
What a strange language you speak. You say hurry, where I would say duty.
It's not your duty to handle the blight, though.
No, it is yours, and you are chatting with me instead.
We should get moving.
As you wish.
Let's see, anything else?
Yes.
I want to discuss something you mentioned.
Speak, then.
That's enough for now.
Then I suggest
I think
move
we only
on.
have a little bit more to say. What were you doing in the cage?
Sitting, as you observed.
That's very funny.
Thank you.
Are you gonna answer my question?
I did.
Son
Pasha,
of a bitch.
was there anything else?
I want to discuss something you mentioned.
Speak, then.
Oh, I already did that.
Then I
Oops.
suggest we move on.
I have a question.
I am hardly surprised.
Why did you come to
To
Ferelden?
answer a question.
What was the question?
The Arishok asked what is the Blight. By his curiosity, I am now here.
What's an Arishok?
The one who commands the Antam, the body of the Kunari.
So he's your king?
Kunari have no kings.
Okay. Why does he care about the blight?
Why do you?
It could destroy the world.
Do you think the Kunari live on some other world, then?
Do you have to report back then?
Yes.
So what are you still doing
I
here?
cannot go home.
Why not?
It doesn't matter now. Can we move on? We keep the Darkspawn waiting.
I want to just... Okay, fine, whatever.
As you wish.
I think one more check. I think that's all we can learn.
Yes.
I want to discuss something. I have a question.
I am hardly surprised.
Actually, never mind.
Very well.
Let's go.
As you wish.
Yay! Okay, now time for Leliana. I believe she's very verbose.
Yes?
I'd like to talk.
Well, here I am.
Well, the vision of yours.
I knew this would come up sooner or later. I don't know how to explain, but I had a dream. In it, there was an impenetrable darkness. It was so dense, so real. And there was a noise, a terrible, ungodly noise. I stood on a peak and watched as the darkness consumed everything. And when the storm swallowed the last of the sun's light, I fell. And the darkness drew me in.
What then?
When I woke, I went to the Chantry's gardens, as I always do. But that day, the rosebush in the corner had flowered. Everyone knew that bush was dead. It was grey and twisted and gnarled, the ugliest thing you ever saw. But there it was, a single beautiful rose. It was as though the Maker stretched out his hand to say, even in the midst of this darkness, there is hope and beauty. Have faith.
Did you hear voices?
No, not voices. It's not so simple. He spoke directly to my soul, in a language no human tongue can express. There are so
Okay.
many good things in the Maker's world. How can I sit by while the Blight devours everything?
The Chantry says the Maker has left
He's
us.
still here. I hear him in the wind and the waves. I feel him in the sunlight that warms my skin. I know what the Chantry says about the Maker, and what should I believe? What I feel in my heart, or what others tell me?
Good point. Are you saying the Chantry is wrong?
They said my ideas were blasphemy. But is it so bad if what I believe gives me comfort? If it could give someone else comfort? I know what I know, and no one will ever make that untrue.
Okay. More.
Yes?
Can we talk?
Well, here I am.
What was life like in the Chantry cloister?
Quiet. It was a life suited for contemplation. In the cloister, away from the fuss and the flurry of the cities, I found peace. And in that stillness, I could hear the Maker. But it was not perfect. Some of my Chantry fellows were condescending. That is the nature of religious folk, I suppose.
Yep. How were they condescending?
When I talked about my beliefs, that the Maker reveals himself in the beauty of his world, they treated me with disdain. They want to believe that he's gone, so that when he turns his gaze on them, it means they are special, chosen. He cannot possibly have love for all, The sick and the weary, the beggars and the fools.
What did you say to them?
What can I say to them? What they believe is what the chantry says, and the chantry is infallible, yes? Maybe I am wrong. But it is the Maker's place to decide if I am worthy, not men, not the chantry. But there is work to be done, and I have talked enough for now.
No, not yet. Talk more.
Yes?
I'd like to talk.
Well, here I am.
What would someone like you be doing in Lothering's Chantry?
What is meant by someone like me?
You know, a beautiful, charming woman like yourself.
And there were no beautiful, charming women in the cloisters, you think? You would be wrong. There were many lovely young initiates in the Lothering cloister, all of them chaste and virtuous.
Bummer.
It added to their mystique, because then they were forbidden, and forbidden fruit is the sweeter, no?
I like Leliana. You can flirt with her like really hardcore right off the beginning. What about your fruit? Is it forbidden?
My fruit? I can't believe I'm having this conversation. But no, I do not take vows. The chantry provides succor and safe harbor to all who seek it. I chose to stay and become affirmed.
Affirmed?
We affirm our belief in the Maker, in Andraste and the chant, but other than that, there are no vows taken.
What did you do before that?
I was a traveling minstrel in Orlais. Tales and songs were my life. I performed, and they rewarded me with applause and coin. And my skill in battle? Well, you pick up different skills when you travel, yes? Yes, of course. Let's move on.
Oh, she's so she is so shifty about it.
Yes?
Let's talk.
Well, here I am.
You were a traveling minstrel. Do you have tales?
Of course I do. I love stories far too much to keep them to myself. Everyone should be able to benefit from them, I think.
Okay. Tell me another. Wait, what?
Which one?
Do you know anything about the Dalish?
I have heard a little about how the elves gained their freedom from the Tevinter Imperium. When Andraste began her exalted march against the Imperium, the elves joined her cause to fight their masters. The great elven leader, Shatan, born in captivity, rose up to lead his people. He foresaw a future where the elves were free. Shatan was killed when Andraste was betrayed, but the elves continued to fight, eventually breaking free of the Imperium. The elves claimed the Dales in the south and settled there in a land of their own.
Sweet, but it didn't last.
The elves lived in the Dales for centuries. They resurrected the worship of the elven gods and would allow the building of no chantry. This angered the chantry, and the hostility between the two factions finally broke out in open war. The chantry says the elves struck first, but I do
of
not
course
know
they
whether
did.
to believe it. The chantry declared a holy exalted march against the elves, named for Andraste's similar march against Tevinter. During the exalted march of the Dales, the elven cities were sacked, and the elven state completely dissolved. Some of the elves bitterly accepted their fates and surrendered to human rule, living in the human cities as second-class citizens. But others, still fiercely proud of their heritage, refused to bow to the humans, and instead became homeless wanderers. They were the elves of the Dales, the Dalish.
What a bunch of dicks humans are. What about Andraste?
Andraste was the Maker's chosen. The Maker
See,
had
she
long
was Jesus.
since abandoned the world when the sound of her singing turned his ear. Beauty, grace, and wisdom enraptured him, and he offered to take her from this flawed world to become his divine bride. But Andraste
kind
had
of like
an
Jesus.
earthly husband and would not forsake him. Instead, she beseeched the Maker to return to his people once more. So earnest was her plea that the Maker was moved, and promised that he would create a paradise on earth if all abandoned their false gods and turned once more to him. And this is why Andraste began her exalted march on the idolaters of the Tevinter Imperium. The Maker granted her his powers with which to smite her enemies. Andraste brought the Imperium to its knees, and her victories converted many to the worship
So she's
of the
like
Maker.
Jesus and also Joan of Arc. How did she die?
Alas, it was the frailties of men that betrayed and killed Andraste. Her earthly husband, Maferath, a chieftain of the Alamari tribes himself, grew jealous as his wife's popularity and influence overshadowed his own. She was also revered as the Maker's betrothed, and Maferath began to see their own bond waning in significance as Andraste became ever more devoted to the Maker. Out of envy and spite, Maferath made a pact with the Archon Hessarian of Tevinter, allowing his beloved Andraste to be ambushed and captured. Andraste was burned at the stake in Minrathos, the capital of Tevinter.
Remember, the Tevinter Imperium, for those of you who don't recall, are the group that the mages came from that supposedly became the first Darkspawn. So, just a little FYI. But Tevinter has a chantry now, doesn't
the
it?
Tevinter chantry claims that in Andraste's last moments, Hessarian's heart softened, and he heard the voice of the Maker telling him to end her suffering. He plunged his sword into her heart, and as her blood washed over his hands, he became one of the faithful. Dissenters said that the Archon only converted because he could not stem the tide of Andraste's cult, and was forced to do so to stay in power. We will never know for sure.
Let's move on. There's a couple more stories we can listen to.
Yes?
I'd like to talk.
Well, here I am.
More stories.
Of course I do. I love stories far
Okay,
too
thanks.
much to keep them to myself.
Let's see.
Everyone should be able to benefit from them, I think.
The Ferelden legends.
I know one, told to me by my mother a long time ago. It always chilled me to the bone. Maybe you have heard of Flemeth?
Flemeth? That's Morgan's mother!
Are you sure? Was she the Flemeth of legend? Flemeth, the devourer of men? Flemeth, mother of witches? Flemeth, demon-touched, who dwells in the mist?
Yeah, I think it's her. What does it matter?
Ferelden mothers scare their daughters with talk of Flemeth. They say that if you're bad, Flemeth will spirit you away and bind you to her forever. They also say that Flemeth mourns her lost beauty and will steal yours through your looking glass if she catches you.
You know what's funny? I know what the truth is in this regard, and it's funny to see little glimpses of what actually happened and happens in both what Morgan and what Leliana says. Tell me the whole story.
Flemeth's beauty was known throughout the land. She had hair like unto a moonless night, skin as pale as winter's first snow, and eyes as beautiful and perilous as the sea. When she came of age, she came to the attention of the Lord of Highever, Conobar, and he took her for his wife. Conobar soon learned that his young bride had the gift of magic. He kept this a secret, for he feared that she would be taken from him. Flemeth stayed with Conobar for some years, and with his blessing, she practiced her art. And then one day, a young poet named Osen came to the castle. Flemeth was captivated by Osen's voice, and he by her beauty, and they fell in love.
You know what's funny? She's telling the opposite story of what Morgan told. Morgan even says that this is what some people believe. What happens then?
Flemeth longed to be with her true love, and she and Osen fled from Conobar's lands, seeking refuge in the Kokari wilds with the Chasing tribes. They lived there happily for many a year, till the day Flemeth received news that Conobar was dying and longed to see her face one last time. Flemeth's heart swelled with pity for the man who once was her husband, and begged Osen to return to Conobar's side with her. But when Flemeth and Osen entered Highever, they were captured by Conobar's men, and Osen was slain in front of Flemeth's eyes. Flemeth was imprisoned in the highest tower of the castle, there to await Conobar's judgment on her. Distraught at the loss of her love, Flemeth plotted revenge against her husband. She summoned a fey demon, intending for it to wreak vengeance on Conobar. But a spell went awry. The demon possessed Flemeth. Turning her into an abomination, the halls of the castle ran red with blood as Flemeth slaughtered Conobar and all his men. The last of Flemeth's humanity melted away, and at dawn, she stole back to the wilds to plot and scheme for 100 years. They say she
Cool.
took to her side many Chasing men, and with their help, begat her daughter witches, who even now prowl the dark places of the Kokari wilds.
You mean like Morgan? Let's see. Any stories from Orlais?
Of course, Orlesians enjoy telling stories. I shall tell you my favorite tale of
This is a good one.
the Knight of Orlais.
Because in Dragon Age 2 there is a character, a companion named Aveline, and they repeat the story again. So I like how they keep intertwining their lore and keep it consistent. So here we go.
A long time ago, a girl child was born to a farmer. He had hoped for a son, not a daughter, and so he told his wife to abandon the child in the woods. Before the cold could claim her, the baby was found by a tribe of Dalish elves who took pity on the poor mewling thing and raised her as their own. Aveline, for that is what they called her, grew strong and quick and clever under the guidance of the elves. She learned to wield the sword as well as any man, could kill a deer with an arrow at 100 paces, and was as graceful on the back of a horse as she was on foot.
Continue, please.
Aveline's Dalish guardians saw that she could easily best any Orlesian chevalier in battle, and wanted to show the cruel humans the child they had left to die. They bestowed upon her a fine horse and armor, and sent her to prove herself to her people in the grand tourney. Now in those days, no woman was allowed to take up arms, let alone compete in the grand tourney, but Aveline kept her helmet on, and was not discovered.
Go on.
Aveline won many events, and gained the approval of the adoring crowd. Eventually, she came face to face with the knight Kaleva in the grand melee. Aveline had already bested him in the jousts, and Kaleva was determined not to lose a second time. Out of desperation to regain his honor, Kaleva tripped Aveline and tossed her to the ground, ripping off her helmet as he did so. Silence fell upon the arena as Aveline was revealed. Kaleva declared the previous competitions invalid. A woman had taken part, and this was not allowed. But the crowd cheered for Aveline. Kaleva was furious, for he had lost to a woman and was now being shamed. Blinded by his rage, he forced Aveline to her knees. "Know your place, woman," cried he, and slit her throat.
God damn. I was hoping for a happy ending.
The son of the king, Prince Freyan, was present. He recognized Aveline's skill and bravery, and began to see the injustice done to the women in his land. When he was made king, he rewrote the laws of Orlais so that women could also become chevalier. He honored Aveline and knighted her after her death, and to this day, any female who is knighted reveres Aveline the Brave, for she is the patron of all women chevalier.
Yep, and that's why in Dragon Age 2, Aveline talks about how she dislikes everyone comparing her to the Aveline of legend. Finally,
Chantry law
Darkspawn.
says it is man's pride that created
The story of the
Darkspawn.
Darkspawn.
In ages past, the mages of the Tevinder Imperium ruled much of the world we know. In their pride, they thought their magics invincible and imagined that they were greater than the Maker himself. So thinking, they invaded his golden city, planning to take it for themselves and depose their own creator. But they were impure and full of sin, and it is with the sin that they tainted the golden city, corrupting it forever. The Maker cursed them and cast them from his sight. Wherever they went, they spread the taint of their sin. Any land that was touched by the taint became blighted and would suffer no life. Instead, the Darkspawn arose to torment us and remind us of our hubris.
There you go. So, that was literally all of this. I think that's all Leliana will tell us.
Well, here I am.
That's it. We can't actually learn more about her yet until we have more approval. But, interestingly enough, there's DLC called Leliana's Song, which is, I think, a really good DLC that we'll play. I'll play it after I conclude her personal quest, which has to deal with the events surrounding that. So, yeah. Also, before I end, I did upgrade my armor a little bit. I bought some stuff from Bowden. Alistair, I changed his sword. Morgan, I think I already showed. Yeah, we already knew that her dress changed. And yeah, that's it so far. Leliana still has her dress on, but once I can level her up, she'll get the. She will get what am I trying to say? Oh, the battle provocure or whatever the fuck this is called. Provocateur armor, yeah. So, All right, everyone. I know a lot of people don't like this kind of thing, but I really do enjoy the lore of this universe. So this was kind of a less action-packed, which is actually no action, and more story. Let's see if there's any new things with the dog. By the way. Yep. See. Just gonna watch.
You are a true warrior and worthy of respect.
Austin. Oh, puppy, puppy, puppy. I think there should be a scene with Leliana, shouldn't there? No, I guess not yet. Okay. All right, that's literally everything I could do at the camp. So, yeah. I also leveled up. Caesar had leveled up again, but and I did as well, but I didn't learn any new abilities yet. So, all right, guys, that's it. Next time we're going to be I'll show you the map real quick. Next time, what we're going to be doing is having these three with me.
Yes.
And we're going to be going to the Circle Tower and see what the fuck is going on there. So stay tuned next time. We're going to actually finally get underway with the main quest of the story, find out what's going on with the mages. So until then, I'll see you guys. Farewell.